day. I hope everything is going well. As always, but in the last couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, I have solicited comments and suggestions from everybody. And as always, you guys show up and show out and give me a lot of things to talk about. So who am I? I am Demetra K, and I am the host of the Demetra K Show on Facebook Live, the YouTube channel, and the podcast. And next to me, I have the infamous Donovan throwing rocks and high in his hand, Sadiq. He is going to be working the bells and whistles behind the scenes. So on the Facebook Live, you guys can't see me, but everybody else will be able to see him on YouTube. And so I just like to say thank you for helping me do this. And of course, to you guys who tune in every week to help me discuss the issues that are important to us. So without further ado, I'd like to get started. But first, I'd like to say a big shout out to Mark Demond Smith and his students from the Youth Build. And let's see. Oh, gosh, I don't want to get it wrong. Patterson Great Falls. It's called Patterson's Great Falls Youth Build. They are tuning in. And the first topic I'm going to discuss actually is one of their assignments for a current affair event. And so they are going to watch this and I guess maybe use some of the information from this podcast and live video. So here we go. And then one other thing, I always just like to say the goal and objective of this show is to promote understanding, love, awareness of everything that goes on within our communities to help make us better and to ultimately put us where we belong, in our rightful place in the world, which is at the top. And so, what is the issue here? All right, so during the, and I'm going to read because I got a lot of notes. So during a 15-day tour, and I'll address your comments as I see them. During a 15-day tour of the USA, UN officials who are gathering information for a report on poverty and human rights abuses in America with the hopes of bringing awareness to the problems, discovered the following. And I probably should go a little bit slow just to make sure everybody, especially the students who need to do this as a report, are here so maybe they can chime in. So I'll go a little bit slow here. Matter of fact, I'll just change the topic. So what's going on with you, Donovan?
The Dallas Cowboys won today.
We don't want to talk about no Dallas Cowboys.
Lonzo Ball scored 10, 8, and 3, I believe, last night. I guess for a rookie, but okay. It is what it is. My cat is out of control.
Yes, your cat is out of control.
So watch your feet.
That cat better not scratch my doggone feet. I know that. Okay. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get started. All right. So during a 15-day tour of the U.S., UN officials who are gathering information for a report on poverty and human rights abuses in America with the hopes of bringing awareness to the problems discovered the following. Okay. So areas of Alabama's Black Belt are having an inhumane and unresolved issue with sewage disposal. It has been deemed a crisis by visiting UN officials. In fact, he said it is the worst condition that he's ever seen in a developed country. He also thinks that it's very uncommon for a first world country. So a first world country is, one like the United States where everything is developed economically, industrial speaking. I said industrial speaking. So they have their stuff together for a lack of better words. Okay. And so, what is the Alabama Black Belt? Well, per AL.com, and a lot of this information I did get from Mark Smith. He actually sent me the article and I did my research from there. So per AL.com, named for its rich soil and located in the southern half of the state, Alabama's Black Belt is part of a ribbon of counties that stretches across the South and has a long history of poverty and racial discrimination. Hey, Al. And says in a Butler County country community, raw sewage flows from homes through exposed PVC pipes and into trenches and pits. Basically, garbage and human waste is just collecting out in the open for all to see and to smell.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine that. You're walking outside and, you're seeing these puddles. Ordinarily, you think, okay, maybe it rained or some puddles of water, but no. It's puddles of sewage, and we know what's in sewage, okay? Mm-hmm. So, in addition to the failing sewer system, the drinking water in the area has been tainted with the raw sewage and other contaminants. Now, it should be known that while Philip Alston was touring the area, and that's an official from the UN, okay, he noticed that poverty, lack of access to basic services, and civil rights struggles mostly affect the poor, who are mostly African American. residents of the Black Belt region. And now this has been going on for generations. It didn't just start, but the poverty and things like that going on in the area has been generational. Now, when you think of a generational, you think of a span of 20, 30 years per generation to start another one. I'm assuming. So when you say generations, that's a long time.
Generations usually 20 years.
So about 20 years. Okay. And I just guessed, see? All right. So, well, how bad is it? It is said that everyone, quote unquote, everyone gets sick. Residents often contract E. coli and hookworm, which is associated with extreme poverty and has been cured and conquered in most of the U.S. And that happened a long time ago. So they took care of it a long time ago. However, we're seeing it now surface again in areas like the Alabama's Black Belt regions. Again, this is due to contaminated drinking water. So in a nutshell, this sewage is getting into the pipes because the pipes are broken and things like that. And so some of the water pipes are also broken. And so the water is just getting in there and it's just like, oh my God. And I'm going to get to you guys' comments in just a second. I'm almost done. So because of the aging straight pipes, discharge from the raw sewage, or it's called effluent, which is raw liquid sewage. It's like, that's the best way I can describe it. It's flowing above ground instead of underground. And so it's also said that their children, let's say the children are outside playing ball. Then let's say the basketball rolls into a puddle. Well, the kids are thinking the puddle is just water, but they're not knowing that it's actually raw sewage. And so what happens is they play, maybe touch their hands and mouth and touch everybody else. And then, the E. coli and the hookworm and all the other things associated with it spreads. And so they're just not knowing what they're getting into. Now, here are some facts regarding Alabama's Black Belt counties. The average income is about $30,000. 24% of its residents live below the poverty line, and this is per the 2010 census. About 40 to 90% has inadequate or no septic system at all. So imagine, it's almost the equivalent of an outhouse, but at least in the outhouse, the waste and the sewage is contained. But you have no septic system. I don't even know what that's like. So is it just, where is it going,
You can always talk to my mom about that. She was raised.
Your mom was raised with, okay. Yeah. Oh, we should have had her on the show.
No, because then she'll make you look bad.
And this says 50% of those septic tanks and or sewer systems that are working are said to, they're going to fail in a very near future. So those things are on their way out as well. It costs about $10,000 to $30,000 to hook the homes up to a system that's working correctly. So the system may be one like, hey, Mark, one like a municipal system, which most modern day houses, they have a sewer system that goes to the city.
The city sewer line.
Right, the city sewer line. So they take care of it. Or it says they need money to either fix it or get another one. However, the government or the cities or whoever would be able to assist them aren't willing to do that. And so it does cost so much money. And a lot of these people are on very fixed income. One lady said that she makes about $400 a month in disability payments or whatever it is. She lives in a very dilapidated mobile home. Mark says peace to you as well. A very dilapidated mobile home. And her system is not working either. So $400, and she's been living like that for 40 years, you guys. 40 years this lady's been living like that. And so these people just don't have the means to fix it. In the meantime, they're coming up with all of these ailments. And so what else did we have here? Let's see. Okay, so now listen to this. Catherine Flower, the director of the Alabama Center for Enterprise and Rural Development Manager at the Equal Justice Initiative. I mean, that is like a long title. She said, people think voting rights are just about access to the right vote, but it's also about once people get access to the vote, getting access to the privileges of citizenship and also the right to have access, Flower said. People are frustrated because people are getting into office who aren't doing what the people voted them there to do, which is, that's not really, it's nothing new, Now, so with all of that being said, what's the solution? How does the Alabama's Black Belt, that's okay, get fixed? How do we, How do we fix that? Because we just, in the last couple of years, heard about Flint, Michigan, where people are drinking contaminated water that's contaminated with lead and other things. So it's like we keep hearing about these things. And this here, what's more baffling to me is that a guy from the UN, he's from Australia. Mm-hmm. He came over and just because they're touring in like 15 cities or whatever, he came over and discovered this. So this wasn't even like mainstream news to everybody until a dude from Australia came over and was talking to the residents, and he just happened upon that. And as the lady was saying, the resident, this has been going on with her. She's been in that situation for about 40 years. Now, I don't know if the sewage has been that way for 40 years, but her situation and poverty has been like that for 40 years.
Let me interject real quick. A lot of people overseas, in my time overseas, they talk about America like it is like, golden streets and it's like the place to be, whatever. And, and I was living in Japan. It made me want to get over there. It's like, wow, we have all that. Yeah, I got all in America. And then, when you do come here, when I came back as a kid.
Yeah.
And remember, I was in high school with you guys and I saw what was going on here. I couldn't believe it myself. 'Cause I'm thinking, wait a minute, because from the history books and what you're hearing and a poor person in the United States.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, a lot of people just don't know about these things that are going on. So now we'll get to y'all comments. Al says, I'm finally home and here for you. Yay. Benny, what's happening? You say, if you look it up, you'll find that the world's biggest cause of death is pollution. I'm not surprised. I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised. I mean, just think about all the stuff that's let out in the air and the
Trump
water,
is rolling back a lot of the regulations.
Yeah, like Donovan said, Trump is rolling back a lot of the regulations to protect people as if we weren't already unprotected enough, right? Mm-hmm. And then Mark, you say, peace, Queen. And Al, you says, we have the same problem here almost each time it floods. So you're saying in Houston, when it floods, you guys have problems with sewers and septic tanks spilling over? Like, I get grossed out by that kind of stuff. And so I couldn't imagine living in an area to where a puddle may be something. It would freak me out.
What do we always say, D?
But what you gonna do? So that, I think, to me, that's the question. And again, I like to say shout out to Mark for bringing this topic here, because I had never even heard about it at all. I'm removed from television and all that kind of stuff, although I can see news, but I haven't seen the news. This trending, have you seen it trending anywhere?
Nope.
I haven't seen it trending anywhere either. So this is a huge problem.
Have you seen the African slave trade in Libya trending?
No,
exactly.
Not to laugh about it, but to Donovan's point too, what happened to all these hashtags about free Libya, Libya slave trade, and it's just like, okay, this is a travesty, it's a tragedy, everything's so bad, and then it goes away until the next issue pops up. Mm-hmm. And so Donovan made a valiant point. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to complain? And so I thought about it. Okay, yes, we can vote. We can vote and try to vote the right people in office and all that other stuff in hopes that they're going to do the right thing for us. But at the end of the day, just check this out. All three of you who are on this live feed. Let's check this out.
4.
Woo! Check this out. So let's say if black people, because this is predominantly affecting black people, if black people practice group economics, we wouldn't be waiting for somebody to save us. Because, see, we're voting for the same people who probably helped us to some degree get in that situation, or they'll say, yes, I'm going to come down there and make sure they fix the pipes and they're going to do this and that. And then when they get in there, it's like, I looked at the books and we just don't have the money for that.
Well, the thing is, what I think we should do, and you're right in what you're saying, when people run for office, we got to show them that there's going to be a political price to pay.
Right. Or Dr. Claude Anderson says, when we vote for these people, we need to contractually hold them to what they said they're going to do. Mm-hmm. All right, so you're going to go to Washington to do A, B, C, and D for black people. Okay, we're here, sign here on this piece of paper or whatever the case is, and say that you're actually going to do that, that you're not actually going to go and just lie to us and use us. And the crazy part about that to me is they lie to us, and the next election cycle, all right now, people, we need to get out and vote.
I supported DACA. I supported reparations for the Asians. I've done this for Hillary. I was behind Hillary.
But what did you do for black people?
Not a damn thing.
What you gonna do for black people?
Not a damn thing.
Exactly. But yet we keep getting right out there and getting people to the polls.
They can always tell you what they're doing for everybody else.
Right.
But for their own constituents, not a damn thing.
And then Allie said, for those of you who don't know, when Dr. D said dilapidated, it basically defines being in a state of ruin or despair due to neglect. I got you.
Yes.
Al is probably surprised that I even know what that means, okay? Benny says, yeah, I'm from Houston, and he's right. When the bayous flood, it's terrible. Ooh, that is so, like, why? Why all this money that...
And you guys are paying all these taxes.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. You guys are paying all this money, and yet when a flood comes, and you would think by now, I mean, it was not back in the day of Noah's Ark.
I bet you Joel Osteen doesn't have that problem.
No, Joel Osteen church was fine.
His house was fine, too.
It was fine, but... we're not living in the day of Noah's Ark to where something floods. It's like, oh my God, build an ark. We have the resources and the ingenuity to make sure that if something floods, that you don't have sewage. Like, that is so nasty to me. I couldn't imagine.
In Korea, they have open sewer ditches, and they don't have that problem there because it goes back thousands of years of how it was constructed. So there's no overflow. There's no nothing. In Japan, they call them binjo ditches. And the way it's constructed, it's nothing that's going to cost millions of dollars. It's just a basic construct that has been worked for thousands of years. It works.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to smell it.
No, it's covered. But, the thing is... I'm
just saying, in a first world country is what they're calling us. In America...
No, we're not.
Well, that's what they're saying. We have that issue where somebody in Alabama is going to walk outside of their house and perhaps step in a doo-doo puddle. Or whatever is coming out of the sewage. And, hookworm. That's stuff you hear about in the third world country, not America.
See, what I don't understand is when everybody's like, oh, my God, that happened in the 60s. You ever see that picture when Bobby Kennedy was running for president?
Yeah.
And he went down to the Alabama, and he was, like, rubbing the little black boy's face.
Yeah.
And, he's trying to get the black boat behind him and stuff like that. And everybody goes, oh, my God, that was so long ago. Do you know my grandfather still lives in a shack from back in those days, even before that?
Right.
This very day.
The same shack.
The same exact shack.
Yeah, so to me, that raises a lot of issues. It's like, how are we, as black people, again, because this issue is predominantly affecting black people, how are we continuously in this situation? Like the lady who says she's been there for 40 years. It actually showed a picture of her trailer, and it's pretty bad. It's like, wow, it's still standing, no shade to her, because I guess that's the best she can do, but 40 years and you're still in the same
Where's
situation.
Her man?
Well, she probably doesn't have a man. I would hope that if she did have a man, she wouldn't be in that situation. Where's the church? Well, the church, listen, dear brother, the benevolent fund is out. We would love to help you with your sewage pipe, but see us next year around the first of the year. Things are, usually better.
Where's Mr. Henry that does everything in the neighborhood, that carpenter guy?
Well, it's funny because me and you talked about that as far as, because Donna was making an issue saying back in the day, we had people in the neighborhood that were handy that can fix those things. But Dr. Umar made a good point as well, saying back in the day, people could graduate from high school with a certificate in carpentry or, whatever it was. And they can go out of high school and get a good job. But then once civil rights came into play, bless you, civil rights came into play, people were going off, they were able to go get the government jobs, things like that. And so it was taking the ingenuity from the black communities. And so now I believe that's partially responsible why you have a lady who's been there 40 years in a dilapidated situation.
And nobody gets it now.
And sewage is just everywhere, raw sewage. And then Al says, hey, Donovan, some of these low standard men out here would love to be behind Hillary. Well, but that's just the thing, too. We're voting for politicians that we don't even know, or we know.
They're self-serving.
Yeah, they're self-serving, and they sell a good, game to us. I'm gonna. And when I get in there, it's gonna be this. And black folks ain't gonna have to worry about that.
And then we also suffer from the fact that, he looks black, so let me vote for him.
He looks black. Or he is black. Because, again, we know a lot of black politicians get up there and, I know I said that. I just needed to use y'all Negroes to get where I needed to go.
A recent example. Remember 8 years ago, there was Occupy Wall Street all over the United States. All over the United States. What stopped Occupy Wall Street?
The election of Barack Obama.
Obama said he was running for president, and then they got behind him, and everybody's been waiting ever since.
Right. And so I mean, it's unfortunate to hear about what's going on in that area of Alabama, the Alabama Black Belt. But it sounds like that's been maybe not the sewage, but it's been an impoverished area for years. And imagine, I guess I'm curious to know is how many people vote, how many people have voted, and how many politicians have actually even been in that area to say, oh, wow.
They don't need to.
Is that a puddle of shit?
Yeah, no, they don't need to. Because like I said, our vote is taken for granted now because we are so disenfranchised.
Right.
The fathers, we don't have a family structure, so there's nobody reinforcing these things that we should be doing.
Right.
The black woman. I'm not blaming the black one. What I'm saying is,
you're not. No,
you guys are leading the families,
right?
Working and stuff. So you don't have time to do that. Our young boys are walking into jail.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
in the South, they don't have to worry about it. I bet you that Roy Moore, he's going to be the senator.
And that's another topic that somebody asked me to talk about was Roy Moore. But as I was saying earlier, practicing group economics, listen, there's no way for us to get around it at all. We keep talking about it. There's no magic that's going to come from the sky. There is no, they are going to save us. They are going to give us this life raft and this bunch of money and there's no such thing.
Right.
Like we keep holding on to this possibility of somebody else saving us, but that's never going to happen. If, as I was saying earlier, we had the, group economics working, I'm just making up something, the Black Federation. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They learn about this thing in Alabama. They say, oh, well, how much is it going to cost to fix the problem? Oh, it's going to cost $20 million. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's write a check for that because those are our people down there and we're going to take care of it. We don't need to wait for the government to, what if? Can you imagine that? Because that's what other communities do. If they have a dire issue, you don't hear about that stuff overall in other people's communities.
Right,
they fix it.
But they have a community that doesn't divest their money into $300 Air Jordans,
right? But that's
$400
exactly.
hairstyles. So I would be very reluctant to give a community that would put entertainment and pleasure ahead of taking care of the business.
Right, but if we were practicing group economics, that wouldn't be an issue. And so Benny says, I said it the last time we discussed the slave trade, our fake outrage tend to waver from news cycle to news cycle. But I will say this, I totally applaud you, Demetra, because what we need is Seymour, is what you're doing. I love your investigative nature and skill set. The way, if you are presented with a topic, whether you are familiar with it or not, I see you will do some real research and share it with us and whomever that'll listen. Investigative reporting keeps the stories alive and bringing stories to the light. Kudos to you, sister.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I thank you. I really appreciate that because I do research. I was so tired last night. And then I got up and I was like, okay, it's time to do some research.
I'm going to have to disagree with Benny on that point because, the true credit goes to your parents. Who gave you the knowledge and stayed on you about, research. Your mother was a writer.
Oh, yeah, she was a writer.
So your dad is
always talking about something knowledgeable.
And has something knowledgeable. And we were at your brother's house a couple of days ago, and I can just see his wheels spinning as he's thinking.
Said all of you guys' minds go 100 miles an hour.
So, I would attribute that to the way you were raised.
I absolutely agree with you, and but thank you for that. I mean, it's just I learned a lot. Kip, you're back. Kip is always overseas on some secretive mission he will never tell me about, but
keep that drug money flowing.
No. Al says, speaking of men who had the better man song, I got a man positive K.
Yes, I got a man.
Oh, let's see, Seymour. Be a man about it, Tony Braxton, Boo, or Shantae got a man. I'm going to say positive K. I really like positive K.
Well, Shantae's I Got a Man, the remix, uses the positive K.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, so.
And so Benny says, kudos to the parents. Of course, yeah, absolutely. Kudos to my parents. But yeah, like I said, when you guys give me stuff, I learn loving about this stuff. Like I said, I didn't know anything about what was going on in Alabama. But now that I do know, Benny, it always brings us back to... And to what Donovan says, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to practice group economics? And the point that you always make, Benny, are we going to recondition ourselves to stop thinking the way we do about ourselves and about each other in order to practice group economics? Because until we do that, as you always say, we're never going to get to that point.
Never.
We're always going to be in a state of, he says, Angie Stone. Angie Stone had a song about I Got a Man?
A Strong Brother.
Oh, Strong Brother.
Yeah.
Okay, I know songs. Yeah, so we're always going to be in that state if we don't recondition the way we feel about ourselves and each other. And so that was very interesting. Mark, I don't know if you're still on here, but I hope that your students found something interesting about what I said if I shed some light on it. But at the end of the day, I think, maybe we should be talking about solutions. I know you guys don't live down there, but, solutions in not just helping people in Alabama, but people, because that situation is in every city in America with black people.
Yeah, if wherever there's a black community, a high black community, there are problems going on, be it the water, be it the sewage, be it the job. I mean, something, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about this on our last show. Dr. Claude Anderson also made a point in saying that black people, we don't live in communities, we live in neighborhoods because communities work together with the hopes of achieving something. And black people we're struggling to do that. We're not doing that overall. So that's something we need to work on. And so I will get to the next topic. Let's see. The next topic comes from, and we can continue talking about this if you guys want. The next topic comes from Charles Frank. And this is in regards to baby mamas, in regards to relationships. Hey, I do the work, brother.
I hear you.
Donna was like, really? Okay, he says, baby mama and baby daddy syndrome. This is our next great war outside of being married parents. Okay, so he wanted me to talk about that.
Married?
Well, he said
married.
Outside of being married. So
black folks don't get married?
Well, they do, kind of. Okay. They kind of do. Okay, so let me see. I was trying to figure out where he was going with that, but I guess he just wanted me to talk about it. Okay. And so what I found was that only 45% of African Americans get married.
Wrong.
How's that wrong?
Wrong.
All right, do tell, brother.
Where'd you get your stats?
I got my stats from yourblackworld.com that got the statistics from the census.
Okay, because if more than 70% of black young women do not get married, then that's at least 30%. According to that same census.
But that statistic is also have been debunked.
Okay,
yes.
right.
Because it's saying that although black women, see now this is what you're going to have me crack open my book.
Crack it open.
Black women don't get married per se to their kids' fathers. That doesn't mean that the fathers don't live in a home.
Right.
Okay. Right. So that also debunks the whole deadbeat black baby daddy thing. Oh, black men are deadbeats. It's not true.
Right. Talk to David Atunga.
Well, David Atunga really. Black men and women do live in the same home. Now, they may not be married, but they still live together and they're raising their children. In fact, black men rank the highest in being involved with their children. So that's some stereotype, typical nonsense that we tend to buy into. Right. But what I read...
Okay. I mean, now that you explain that, but statistically what they're saying is by legal marriage. That's what
but when we don't dig deeper, we believe that black women don't get married.
Well, you said married, not living together. You said married.
But, 45%, I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. Okay. Gotcha. And so in 1890... 80%, now it doesn't say married, it says 80% of parents lived together in 1890. Now, just the way I was thinking about it, it probably didn't group them as married people because that was right after the Emancipation Proclamation, which was in 1865. I think on record, the first married black couple was in 1866 in North Carolina. And then, it kind of snowballed out of control, I guess you want to say, from that point. And so now we are at about almost half of that, from 80% in 1890 to 45% now. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess the question is why? Why do we, as Charles would say, have more baby mamas and baby daddies than parents working together to raise their children? And so I'll get to you guys' comments. And so Marcus said, indeed. And Al says, breaking news. You are watching a pre-recorded taping of the Demetra K show because Dee and Donovan are at the Eagles-Ram game. I doubt it. We ain't watching no football. On this side of the table, we ain't watching no football, okay?
Cowboys won.
Boo. And Mark says, I detest that term, baby mama, baby daddy. I do too. I've never called myself a baby mama. I would always refer to my daughter's father because we were never married. My daughter will be 25 at the end of the year, so that's no longer an issue. But I would always say my daughter's father. To me, that's my baby daddy. That is so... no shade to anybody who says that about them or their other parent. It just sounds just so condescending.
Sounds immature.
Immature. Like, it almost says that you're no more than a baby daddy, whatever that is.
Baby making machine.
Baby making machine. There you have it. And so, well, let's see. Okay, so I kind of attributed my own thinking to it. And I thought integration... feminism, the system of socialism, and being taught to hate ourselves since slavery and buying into the notions that we are each other's enemies, I think that all played into that. You know, especially a lot of people argue with the inception of feminism in the 1960s, because, you know, in the early 1900s, black women were just like, you know what, we trying to, you know, figure out some things on our own. But in the 1960s, I think a lot of black women bought into that whole, well, our man ain't no good either, because up until that point, we was getting along good with each other, you know, and then here comes socialism. Well, for the price of a Section 8 apartment, you know, some food stamps and some, you know, benefits, you can have everything. It's just, you just can't bring your man, you know. And so I think a lot of those things, and like I said, in addition to us being taught that from slavery, the black woman is your enemy, the black man is your enemy, and we just kind of carried that over into modern day times. So that's what I have on that. I don't know what else you guys have, but you guys can continue as I go on to the next topic, because we got a lot to talk about here. And then Marcus says, well, I am throwing whole shade.
I love it.
You throw it all. I was trying to be nice. Benny says, perfectly said. That is absolutely right. And Al says, my stepdad was a black man who was not, I'm scared to read this, who was not a deadbeat daddy, although he said with his side piece that he believed in LOVE, liquor, oil, Viagra, and ecstasy. I ain't reading no more of your comments, Al. Not one more.
Yeah. Al, we just need the joke of the day, please.
Okay. So moving right along, and we can continue on with everything. Loria Ogins. Now, Loria is a personal Facebook friend of mine and a friend of mine outside of Facebook.
And a very talented vocalist.
Yes, very talented vocalist. Even before Facebook, we've always been very good friends. But she's really into this whole election Trump, Roy Moore type thing. So she wants to know about Roy Moore. She says, is he going to win? And if he does, what will happen to the GOP? And if he loses, what will happen to the GOP? Okay, my short answer to that is, yes, I think he's going to win. What will happen to the GOP? Nothing. If he wins, nothing. If he loses, nothing.
Can I add something there?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Democratic Party is the only party that will unilaterally disarm itself.
Oh, yeah, yes. You're talking about Al Franken.
Yeah, because these are allegations.
Right.
Now, there's allegations against this guy, and he's like, I'm not quitting until something comes out.
You're going to pry this seat from my cold dead hands.
And even Trump said that. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
They're allegations.
Allegations.
Now, yes, he is going to win, but you got to understand the policies and the different parties. Now, who was against black people during the 1960 civil rights?
Roy Moore.
It was the Democrats.
Oh, I just
so every
so every
so many years the parties flip. So the Republicans used to be the family values party and all this other stuff. Now we find out they are not the family values party.
Right.
So now they're, hey, it's okay to cruise a 13-year-old chick and you're 35 years old. That's okay. All the stuff that's going on. But politically, that's what happens in America. The parties flip from time to time and time again. And like I said, because what these Republicans are right now, especially in the South, those were Dixiecrats.
Right.
And they just became Republicans,
exactly.
and now they're Republicans that are going to go back to being Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, so to Roy Moore, who is trying to be a congressman, a senator. So I'll show you how out of touch I am with all this. A senator, but he's been accused of cruising the mall, as Donovan said, for young girls. When he was 30, he was messing with a 14-year-old.
And he was actually banned from the mall.
Banned from the doggone mall because he was looking for kids and, sexual harassment and stuff. But he's like, listen, I ain't going nowhere. Y'all haven't got no evidence, which they really don't. Nobody's got any solid thing. And to your point about Al Franken, who is going to resign in the next couple of weeks because of the allegations, the allegation does not equal evidence or guilt. And so Well, what's going to happen to the GOP? Not a doggone thing. They're going to continue doing the stuff they're doing, and at the end of the day, we're going to continue doing the stuff.
But how many Democrats came out against Al Franken? All the women did.
A lot.
They said that, 25, 30
yes.
Democrats. How many came out in the Republican Party?
None.
2.
They was like, shoot, we riding this until the wheels fall off. And then Benny says, on that topic, there's nothing else to be said. He's talking about the baby mama, baby daddy. Jonelle, we are so happy you are here. We get concerned when you come on here late. We get very concerned. We think about having to raise bail money for you. Going to Facebook jail. And Al says, I don't know anything about Roy Moore, but I know all about Clayton Moore. Who is Clayton Moore? Who is Clayton Moore, Donovan? Y'all watch too much TV. I'm sure it got something to do with some TV.
No. Well, there's a thing with Clayton Moore, and there's also a politician that's named Clayton Moore.
Oh.
So.
All right, so moving along. So Roy Moore.
So I do think he's going to win. I do.
All right, so in regards to the new museum in Mississippi, Samuel X. Clark says, and this is his whole comment from Facebook. It says, could it be just like the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis is being protested because funds generated doesn't benefit black people economically, but the capitalist power structure that Jackson, Mississippi Civil Rights Museum is following suit? My understanding that others took over and dedicated its current location and seek to benefit from their telling of our story, and inviting Mr. Trump seems to really say who is really running things and who is set up to benefit. We must begin to tell our own story. Remember, the enemy gives you something up front, and in the end, he takes it all back. And so he is talking about the new Mississippi. I have a habit of looking at Donovan.
You got to look at your audience there.
There's the new Civil Rights Museum in Mississippi opened up, I guess, yesterday or something like that. And so Trump was supposed to speak, but he didn't speak because a lot of people were a lot of politicians and civil rights people and the NAACP.
John Lewis,
that's what I was trying to think of. They weren't going to attend if he spoke.
Cooning Lewis.
He's stupid. And so he didn't speak, but they had an alternative event that he was able to speak at, I guess, to the
Pensacola,
veterans. Yeah. But let's be honest, they had an event for him to appease the white people because the governor invited him, and he was like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to tell Mr. Trump that he can't speak. So I guess for whatever reason, he didn't speak. He spoke somewhere else, and he, said Medgar Evers was a hero and all this other stuff.
Did his dentures stay in this time?
Whose?
Trump's.
Trump's dentures fell out?
No, last time he was speaking, he was slurring his words about the Palestinian thing.
I didn't hear anything about his dentures, but I'm just glad his toupee stayed on.
Yeah, okay.
So now for a lot of us who, let's say somebody doesn't know, but I guess a lot of people were opposing Trump speaking at the Civil Rights Museum because, of all the incendiary things that he's done and said regarding, just different people or races in America, banning the Muslims, building a wall, making crazy remarks about black people, just the whole host of things. So they're like, why should he come and speak? I mean, it's weird. But, so I agree. And so Al says Clayton Moore was a Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger.
I don't think that's going to hold old Roy up at all. I'm just saying we got more grab him by the... here, put him in front of the... we got more grab him by the... you see that? The cat? In the bed. The cat literally jumped on the table when I was going to say that word. And so I didn't have to, right? We got Trump in the White House, and so Trump was like, listen, I'll tell people I'm grabbing it. And what y'all gonna do?
Exactly. What you gonna
do? Y'all
do?
ain't gonna do nothing. And so, okay, so regarding this museum here, Samuel has a great point. I mean, how? This is my question, okay? I'm looking at you on this one. Don't every time you keep looking at it, I'm looking at you, okay? Now I'm going to look back at y'all. How we going to tell somebody else how to spend their money? I want to know, did black people put this money up? Did we put this money up to build a museum? Because if we didn't, how we going to tell these people being the white people? Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why they would want a civil rights museum. Maybe they were doing it to appease some sector of the black community in Mississippi. I don't know. But to me, it's like if these people are predominantly putting their money up to have a civil rights museum, how we going to tell these people how to spend their money? Because to me, it'd be easier if we just practice group economics and built our own museum.
Right. Usually when it's a public event like that, it's not a private institution. The land is probably donated by the people. So that's tax dollars that go into that. Not saying that a good portion of like presidential libraries are donated by private citizens, but a good part of it is also used by tax dollars. So.
Right. Okay. So I get that the whole tax dollars thing. I mean, but it's like, if we really, really, really want to control our own thing, why don't we just put up our own money and build our own civil rights stuff? I mean, to me, that would be the easier.
Where?
I don't know. Somebody got a backyard somewhere. I mean, it don't got to be extravagant, but if we could just start, you know. Matter of fact, I went to a Black History Museum in Pomona, California. Pomona, up the street. And then, you know, right by Los Angeles, it's a small, it's very small. In fact, it's inside of a mall. And it takes up maybe about 2 stores or so. But they have so many artifacts and, you know, historical things in there regarding Black people. Now, this is funded by a couple who get donations from people to keep this thing running. And so if they can do it in Pomona, California, surely all these big wigs and John Lewis's and all these people with all this, you know, political influence and clout can fund a museum that is away from the powers that be, right? And then Al says, speaking of dentures, oh Lord. Hey, Donovan, Phyllis Diller was a longtime spokesperson doing a ton of Polident commercials. Yes, she was. Yeah. Phyllis Diller. So yeah, I mean, I agree with Samuel. I mean, it's like, we don't have any control there. I mean, we really don't. What power do we have to tell these people Trump can't come? Now, I don't know if it was his decision. It probably was his decision. Like, listen, these Negroes don't like me. And I don't want them to boo me or whatever. So I'll just not speak.
I don't think Trump gives a damn if we like him or not, because he won the presidency without our vote.
Yeah, but you know, he's probably like, listen, I don't need no more awkward moments. These Negroes aren't going to show up anyway.
No, a bigot doesn't care nothing about that. Like I said, he got rid of, he only deals with the niggas that are willing to bend over for him. Recently on MSNBC, that pastor.
Which one? The one that was who riding for him?
Yeah, the one with the goat face and stuff like that. Pastor, whatever his name is. He was on there arguing with Al Sharpton. About, you know, Trump and his record and stuff like that, which is, I was just like, you know, 2 opportunists that don't give a damn about
out-opportunity
each other. It's just sad. It's just sad.
And Benny said, yes, he's going to win, and it will have no real effect on the Senate because, one, he'll just be a junior senator, and it won't change the majority of the GOP, and the Democrats can actually benefit from, let's see more, actually benefit from him winning when it comes to the primaries and the up and coming presidential election, because of the fact that the GOP will be having a child molester as a seat senator. That is the Democrats. That's if the Democrats can brand it right, which they never know how to do.
They will blow it.
They just are not disciplined enough. Yeah, I mean, like you said, they tuck tail and run when an allegation comes forward. I mean, I was like, really, Al Franken? I mean, I don't know if he did it or not, but
if the Democrats want to win the primaries and outright, they need to get rid of Nancy Pelosi, Barbara. No, she's already gone. Feinstein, and all these stalwarts from the '60s. They need to get rid of them and start electing progressives. Period.
Right.
So,
well, you know, you guys are really into politics. I'm not really into them. I just tell people, if you know, I help them if they're going to be a candidate or something. Try to, you know,
D's in it for the money.
Who ain't, right?
Right. That's
okay.
True. That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just nowadays I don't get politically involved because to me it's all the same. If you really think about it, everybody's the same. Same party, different names. In the end, the poor people who have less will be hurt and will be left holding the bag. I mean, so we got to really do for ourselves. And that's really the message I think we need to, you know, start talking about. And Al says, what about practicing group economics with the Hispanic brothers since they are a minority? Well, this is the thing.
You can't. Yeah, it's hard.
This is the thing. I think back in the day that might have been a possibility, but Hispanics are now the numbers are number 2 in population. And so they're like, what do we need you guys for? Back in the day, we would have needed you, but we're a force on our own. We don't need you guys. We see what you guys are doing in your communities. You guys don't get along with each other. You damn sure ain't gonna get along with us. And so we don't need you anymore.
Right.
That's just. But I agree, Al. That would be an awesome concept if Black and brown people can get together. But it's going like this with the brown people going here and the Black people are continuing to go down there. So. Jonelle says, we still fighting for our own mind. We are not a minded people. Liberated-minded people don't integrate. They revolt and do for self. Liberated-minded people revolt on all levels are Salvation is not in a falling zero Zionist owned American system of zero morals and full of grouping hollow souls.